programs under the 1.1 sub-program. And in terms of our operational plan, there is reference that has been made to seeds. We would be supplying seeds to vulnerable groups, supply seeds to MECs, adopted schools, mentor schools, learners who are interested to e-career exhibitions. I just picked up few, but in the ops plan, there are quite a number in terms of quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 2, 3, up to 4. But it's SPU, which falls under yes. And then we had a reference made by the Honorable MEC on governance and administration on page 25. Therefore, our focus area is governance, good governance and administration. We have several performance indicators where we must ensure that we conduct management and leadership sessions to promote efficiency, performance review sessions where we would have our audit intervention plan through the activities of the operational plan being monitored. We have to make sure that strategic decisions are monitored. We interact with other sectors as well. Monitoring and evaluation has to be done quarterly. Performance information reports, they are submitted to ensure that we are on track. And that is just a synopsis of the activities that are in the operational plan. Good governance, where we talk about risk management, you must mitigate risks. Audit committee, corruption, which we must have a corrupt-free organization where we have vetting financial disclosures. Risk appetite, which has been developed for each department. And also under this issue of good governance, each department has developed a service delivery model. The service delivery model, it talks in terms of how are we going to deliver our services as DRDAR. Mostly we must reach the code fix. So we have done that. It has been approved by the Office of the Premier, and we are working on that. And it is under Performance Indicator 3.1, which talks to human resource management practices. Organizational structure, we are now in the process of finalizing because it flows from the service delivery model. So our organizational structure is there to improve the efficiencies and effectiveness in the department. HR planning is something that has to be done because it's in our APP as well. Ensuring that with an organogram that we would be developing, people are appropriately placed with the appropriate skills and where they are supposed to be placed. And we must ensure, therefore, that it's a triangle. People are deployed from the head office when necessary to the districts, to the local municipalities, and also to the wards in terms of our service delivery model. And with the correct competencies, we've identified with the new transformation and economic strategies that there are certain gaps because there are certain areas where reskilling is necessary. We will deal with that. Honorable MEC talked to improvement, to improve on page 26, improve capability of the workforce. The filling of the critical vacancies is also very fundamental, which we have reflected on our APP. There is a structure which has been established called the Provincial Management Coordinating Team, PCMT. As a structure, as Agent just said, we were there yesterday, 57 posts have been approved, and we are going to advertise. We are sitting at the attrition, and therefore automatically the post will be advertised. But we sit and look whether these posts are critical, so as to ensure that we also we fall within the 5% vacancy rate as a department, which we have covered in our APP. Human resource development, we are also responding to what the Honorable MEC is saying. We are responding to the MTSF. We are responding to Vision 2030 because the country itself has to reduce unemployment and accelerate economic growth. We've got that in our APP by ensuring that we employ graduates. Currently, there are 6 graduates which were afforded bursaries by the department. 2 are placed at Kisani as animal production. 4 placed OR Tambo, E2 is social science, E2 is animal production. So we want to make sure that when our bursary holders finish, we get them into an internship program. And then we also then advertise and open up a pool. A pool. There is also a submission which has been made. So we will be opening up now for other graduates that are outside our bursary holders pool. Also now, in terms of the workforce labor relations, really one wants to mention that the organizational environment, Dr. DRDAR, has been very conducive because of the engagements that we always have. The working environment where we make sure that there are consistent meetings and engagements. We have covered that in an APP because we want to ensure that at different levels, NAM, I will meet with a certain structure, Chief Director Corporate Services will meet with a certain structure, and labor relations will meet with a certain structure, and also ensure that our shop stewards are being trained in terms of understanding legislation. And we have covered that in our operational plan. I've made reference to the pages. And also the backlog, we report quarterly to the Provincial Treasury, to the Public Service Commission, to the OTP in terms of the progress we have made with regards to our labor cases. ICT as an enabler, which was mentioned by the Honorable MEC on page 22, enabling rural development. We have ICT, which is a directorate which falls under Program 1. And we must ensure, therefore, that we revamp ICT to enhance our business processes. For example, there are certain projects that we work with the other programs, because we mustn't be working in isolation. Those projects, they are mentioned in the operational plan. 1, leave management. That one is a program which is piloted so as to ensure that there is efficiency. We are working in ensuring the development, rural development portal. We are working with the institutions like IDONI, Wi-Fi, OR Tambo, Amatole, Nakoma Tadi. So all that is being covered in our operational plan because we are responding to the ICT as an enabler. The payment of service provider, which has been mentioned by the Honorable MEC on page 26, we said our focus area, we must adhere to the cost containment measures. And therefore, in our APP, we must ensure we pay our service providers within. At this point in time, we are on average already paying within 17 days. Our interim and annual financial statements prepared timely, and we have been successful. As a result, even in terms of the audit opinion, there has been really good efforts that have been made. In terms of the fiscal discipline of the department, we have talked to that because we break down what the MEC has said collectively in the policy speech to ensure that we don't lose anything in our APP and the activities also in the operational plan. Unauthorized expenditure, wasteful, irregular expenditure every month that is being monitored. There is a record that is being done, and people have to account. People have obtained money where money has been paid. Disciplinary action is taken where it is due. Our creditors, the payment of creditors, as payroll verification, we know there are instances where you'll find that there are ghosts, and people, therefore, they would be indicated, as being in the payroll, but we need to therefore monitor our payroll and ensure that the people that are being paid by Dr. DA are really employees. The Honorable MEC talked about Dr. DA commits to implement the LED procurement strategy in programs like cropping. So we have dealt with that in the APP, our mechanization services. We have dealt with that in terms of the contract register that is being maintained, and also suppliers who do not deliver on time and perform poorly, then there is action that will be taken in order to ensure that there is improvement. We have dealt with it in our operational plan, broken down into all the quarters. And then lastly, our focus area, which is in 1.5, strengthening communication. As one can see, and is evidence to everybody, our Honorable MEC is visible everywhere. You go to Facebook, currently, we also have, there is a supplement which we get on the Herald, a supplement which we get with Daily Dispatch, and that works together. Therefore, it's a communication strategy because we want to ensure that we are improving our media coverage and website management. If branding the trade department, you would know that this is a Dr. DA office. There are certain instances where really the circumstances are beyond our measures, but we ensure that whatever can be done is being done. There is also the female farmer entrepreneur, NEMIT safety awards, the abattoirs, which also seeks to ensure that there is communication and that stakeholder engagement by the Honorable MEC. Lastly, on communication, we talked about projects that will be implemented in accordance with customer care, and therefore there is a toll-free line, and we want to benchmark therefore. At this point in time, last year we were at 96.5 in terms of our response rate, but we want to improve each and every time. So we have all the activities in the last quarter. And I will just mention, bear with me, Honorable MEC and HOD, that we do have we have strengthened our communication chief directorate. We have a chief director, which would ensure that our image is elevated to greater and greater lengths. Stakeholder engagements are being done, not only by the Honorable MEC, but visibility of the department. I thank you.
That is honorable. We understand that the land is very honorable. Let's get
Thank you, Chairperson. I have the honor of presenting Program 2. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, honorable MEC and HOD and colleagues. So Program 2 looks at sustainable resource management in the program, and it is a support program for the service delivery in the department in terms of the natural resource base and the infrastructure. And it is a handout that's available. I think it's going to wait for it to get distributed. The handout includes 14 pages. I just know. Okay, on page 1, I'm going to go through it, just put the highlights on it because it's documented and referenced to the annual performance plan and the policy speech and the operational plan. On page 1, what informs us in this is to achieve the overall rural development and improve quality of life. That's the strategic goal in the department which we addressed. And then it's informed by the respective policy documents and guidelines in terms of the medium-term strategic framework, the rural development strategy, and strategic integrated projects, or the SIPs. But I want to focus on the objective, which is the second from the bottom, and it is to provide agricultural support services to farmers in order to ensure sustainable development and management of the agricultural resources. And that is to achieve the following things. The one is improved livestock production and increased crop production. That's why we're looking to manage our natural resources. And it has three sub-programs on page 2 of the presentation. The three sub-programs are firstly engineering services, which provide support for infrastructure development, irrigation technology, farm mechanization, all farm structures such as fencing, dip tanks, all those designs, and also for advice on the use of machinery and equipment. Then the other one is land care, which was referred to earlier in the meeting. That's to promote the sustainable use of natural resources, but it's very important to educate and train our communities in how we can go about looking after these and making the most out of it. And then third part is land use management, which is the subdivision that looks at the implementation of sustainable use of the management of a resource base. It's guided principally by 2 acts. That's Act 43 of 83, the Conservation of Agricultural Resources Act, and Act 70, which is the Subdivision of Agricultural Land Act, which are all designed to help us protect our resources and make the optimum use of those resources. And the third one is the disaster risk management. How do we mitigate these natural disasters? And what programs do we have in place in terms of early warning? The budget we have is shown at the top of page 3. And you can see for 17-18, the program 2 has 123 million, and it's divided up into engineering, land care, land use management, and disaster risk management. The service delivery in disaster risk management is funded under the farmer support program. I think we dealt with it last year, but that's why it's there. But the organization happens under program 2. But the delivery of the recovery programs are under program 2. And then I have a summary of each of the sub-programs, but I'm not going to go into the summary now. It can be referenced later. But I want to go to page 6. Page 6. And we can see there, this is the structure of all of this presentation. On the left, we see how it aligns to the policy speech. And then what page it refers to, and what the focus area is. Then where in the annual performance plan we're referring to, and that performance plan there, we've got particularly performance indicators, and we give how do we address that indicator in terms of the operational plan, which is the third column from the right. And we see that the operational plan says what activities do we carry out to achieve that performance indicator. And we'll summarize it here because the details are in the document itself. And then we say in this annual performance plan and operational plan, what targets do we plan for achieving in 17-18? On the right hand side, we say the target is in this case, this is infrastructure to be developed. It's 62 items of infrastructure, and then we also detail what districts, where are these going to be achieved in terms of the planning. So this is a very structured and organized service delivery program based firstly on the policy imperatives of the policy, then our annual performance plan, and then how we do it with the operational plan and where it's going to happen. And at the bottom there we say how much money we've got to do that. There's 8.7 million in terms of that. This must say this is the support services for that, it's not the infrastructure itself. Infrastructure itself is funded under program 3. And the detailed list of all these infrastructure projects will be referred to from page 94 in the annual performance plan, a whole list for a 3-year plan for infrastructure. And that's the infrastructure. And then page 7 just gives more detailed aspects out of the policy speech, the policy speech that inform the infrastructure. It says, for instance, on page 7, 41 million will be in support of the livestock industry. That's your dip tanks, the stock water, your fencing, your handling facilities, and so on. Then you've got 22 million, was already mentioned, for the completion of the citrus pack shed. Now, our engineers do the support for that. We've got 1.1 million to support the GAP, which is the general agricultural practice. In other words, to comply to get your produce qualified for export. It's got to be traceable, and it's got to be done in terms of general acceptable agricultural practices, which means there got to be suitable toilet facilities for the workers and certain package and so on. Farmers to be in that position.